everyone, welcome to Photo Beast. I'm your host Dion. Today I want to talk about something that kind of gets overlooked as photographers and videographers, and that is SD cards. We're not going to get into the specifications of every little card, but we're going to do just kind of a quick overview. Just to show you on the table here, you've got your smallest little card, and these are called micro SD cards. No matter which one you get of these, they're never going to be as fast as the bigger ones. They just will not. But our micro SDs go into our GoPros, something like this, or I have a, shit, I just lost it. I had the little, oh, here it is. Or it will go with something like the DJI Pocket, and all these things take little micro SD cards. So micro SD cards are relevant. I also use one in my drone. We have to have them as photographers and videographers. The next step up is your typical SD card. Now this is what we would call an SD card. If you look at the back of it, there's only one line, and this makes it called a UHS-1. Okay, now there are new cards out called UHS-2. The better card is the UHS-2. So if you look at the variances on the backs of these, you can see the one only has one strip, the two has two strips. What this does is allows you to transfer your information faster. And when I say faster, we'll get to that in a minute. The next one up from UHS-1 is UHS-2. Above that, there's actually what's called a CF Express. This goes into the Canon R5. Sony has theirs, Fuji, Nikon has theirs, but CF Express is something that would go into more of a pro level camera. So when you get to the $3,000, $4,000, and $5,000 cameras, like this one for instance, I have one CF Express card, and then as my backup, or I can make video go on this and pictures on this, vice versa. You can set it up any way you want. The customizations are endless. But this right here is a 128 gigabyte UHS-2 card. So I use the two fastest cards available because this is a 45 megapixel camera, and it also shoots 8K video. And even the 4K is downsampled to 8K. So the file sizes are pretty massive. All right, give me a second to put this up. Now that we kind of went over the cards and you've looked at, what's on the table, not all cards are compatible with all electronics. For instance, if I was to stick a UHS-1 card into my Canon R5, I would have limitations. And when I say that, not only would I have limitations, I also mean that it wouldn't work as good. Now, for instance, when I do burst shots, this camera only gives me 20 frames per second, and something like electronic shutter mode, the buffering would happen about 10 times faster, and it would hold 10 times longer. When I say buffering, basically when I take a burst shot of RAW, it takes a little bit of time for that camera to actually catch up with how slow the card is. So you do want the fastest cards, and something like a CF Express card gives me 1700 megabytes a second speeds, as opposed to something like this that gives me like 98 megabytes a second. So it can really dampen your shooting. You're trying to keep up with subject, you'll have loss of pictures, loss of just everything. So having the right card for the right electronic is very important. So always try to make sure that you know which card is required for your electronics. The other thing that's great about having the faster cards is transfer speeds. And that's one of the main reasons I wanted to share this with you today. For instance, this is ElecJet. This is like a little $15 or $20 little card reader, as you can see, and it's got the regular card reader here and some micro SD card readers here. It's great. It works. It's worked for 4 years. This thing's never let me down. But on the other hand, this is like a CF Express card reader. This only does CF Express cards, so I can't put nothing else in it. And then this guy over here is a micro SD and an SD card reader. So something like this from Sabrent is going to run you about $50. And you might ask, why get something for $50 when you get the same thing for $15? They look the same and they do the same things. Well, the problem is these cheaper card readers for $15 and $20 that you can pick up, say, on Amazon or eBay. For instance, if I was to stick a card, now I have some pictures of, I guess it was on this card here. I've got 3 little videos. Let's just, for instance, this is an older model UHS-1, okay? Even taking an older model UHS-1 and plugging it into this guy, if I was to stick it into my computer, and for those of you computer techs out there, I have an Intel i9 13K CPU, and I've got a 3090 graphics card in here on an Asus Z90, a 690 motherboard, okay? So it's pretty fast computer from that standpoint. So if I was to take these 3 clips, right, and just cut, copy, and paste them or drag them into this folder over here, you can look at my speeds. And my speeds are 5 to 6 to 7 megabytes a second. So it's calculating the time remaining. And this is where something like this, 15 gigabytes, that's not a big video when you're shooting in 4K. So a small little video that you might make that could potentially be 10 minutes long, you know, we're looking at 14 gigabytes, it's telling me it's gonna take 40 minutes. 40 minutes is a long time when you have limited time to do projects. So say I needed to get in and out of the door, I've got another event coming up. That's why something like this from Ritz Camera or something from Sabrent really makes a difference. Let's redo the same thing, right, with the old UHS-1 card with the slower speeds, and let's see what the difference is. Okay, so let's just go ahead and stop this really fast. We're gonna pull this little guy out. And like I said, this is tried and true. It does work. It's great. I don't throw it away because one of the things that I do keep this for is sometimes these older cards, even though we want to get the fastest speeds out of them, they won't work sometimes with the faster card readers, okay? Say for instance, I might have a micro SD card, and on the micro SD cards, they say UHS-1, and they also have a UHS on them that says 3. Let me see if I can pull one up to show you. There's a little, here it is. Where's the damn cards at here? They say A2, A3 and stuff like that. Okay, can you come over here and see this? So when you get your micro SD cards, you see how this micro SD card says A1? Okay, so if your micro SD card says A1 on it, it won't transfer fast at all on the faster card readers. What'll happen is it will freeze up the card reader. So you need something that says A2 on it. For instance, I bought these off of Amazon. They had the fastest transfer speeds out of all of them, but they have A1 on it, and I didn't catch it. Because they have A1, I can't use it with this one, which really sucks because now I have to use this with my slow card reader, and whatever I pull off of here, 15 gigabytes could be 50 minutes, potentially, which really sucks. So if I use this to fly the drone, the information will go on there fast, but when I go to pull the information off, it could potentially take me an hour just to get a small video off. And time is money, and that's everything. So that's what I want to try to help you guys out with here today. So let's take this Sabrent fast one, and we're going to use the old UHS-1 and plug it in. And we were at 40 minutes before. Now let's plug this guy in and check this out. Same computer, same card, just different card reader. Let's go back into private. Sony has their own. This is from a Sony camera, by the way. Let's just take all 3 of these, and we're going to take them and throw them over here. And now look, it's saying 14 gigabytes still, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. But look at the speed now. Instead of the 5, 6, 7 megabytes transfer speed, we're transferring 91 megabytes a second. So the more megabytes you transfer per second, the faster everything is. You got to think about 1,000 megabytes is a gigabyte. About 1,000 gigabytes is a terabyte, give or take a few. But just try to remember those kind of numbers, and you'll know about what size card you need for each and every job. And as you can see, within 2 minutes, we're going to be done here. It's already at 30% of the way. So I hope that helps a little bit. Now, if you were to take a card like this, the UHS-2, let's pull this out and let's look at the speeds. This one says we get 250 gigabytes a second, which is super, super fast. This one says we get this one says we get 250 megabytes a second. This one says 130 megabytes a second. This one over here says 170 megabytes a second. So you want to look at not only the megabytes a second, but you also want to look, do you have a 1 on the card or do you have a 2 on the card? See, this is a V60, but it also has 2 lines because it's a UHS-2 right here. So the UHS-2s are the best ones you can get. Now, even though this is one of the faster UHS SD cards that you can get at 250. The CF Express still kicks its butt at 1700 megabytes a second, give or take a few. And just because a card says it might give you 1700 or it might give you this or that doesn't always mean that you're going to get those types of speeds. For instance, let's pull off, where's my little SD card out of here? My CF Express. Oh, that's the R7, I need the R5. So let's, I don't even know if I got anything on this card. Shit, sorry. So let's take the Canon R5. This is a Ritz gear. This is a Video Pro one, and that's why I like to use this for video. But if I was to stick this in here and plug it in, see what kind of transfer speeds we would get. If I have any pictures on here, and I don't. So, well, what I could do is take a couple pictures real fast. How about that? So let's take this here. Let's set that down there for a second. So what I'm gonna do is just blast some shots real quick, right? With the Canon R5. And we're gonna use a CF Express card. I'm gonna take all the cards out and I'm gonna open up the door to the studio here. Oh, I don't have batteries? Jesus Christ, man. I do? What? Why is it not working, honey? What's going on, babies? What happened? All right, so we're gonna take the normal CF Express card. We're just gonna blast some shots. That's not the speed y'all were thinking I was gonna get, no, was it? I was actually doing some portraits the other day. So let's put our metering mode on high speed. There we go, it's a little bit better. And I believe that is electronic first curtain. So that's not even our 20 frames a second. And as you can see, it didn't even buffer. We can just hold it down. It can just eat up all those pictures. I don't think I've ever got it to buffer. Now, if I shut this camera off, it feels weird because I've been shooting R7 for the last few weeks. Let's plug this in just briefly. Excuse me, guys. So once we plug this one in, and you look over here, there's the pictures we just took. Let's take these and let's just drag them in. Each one of these images, the size is 53 megabytes a piece. So that's pretty good size files, and we didn't even start buffering. That's why those cards are something to pro. Look how fast that went. 400 megabytes a second. Now the card said it does 17, up to 1700 megabytes a second. Even though it says that, it just transferred at 400. So it depends on where you're transferring to, the card that you're transferring to, and the card that it's coming from. So there are a lot of variables in play. So just keep in mind, just because you get a card that says 1700 megabytes a second doesn't mean you're always gonna have those transfer speeds no matter where you plug it into. So with that in mind, like I said, I wanted just to let you guys know that these little guys right here, something from Sabrent, Ritz Camera, these little SD card readers. The reason why you see some at $12 and some at, you know, $70, $80 is because these are a lot faster and they save your time. Thank you guys for joining me today, and I hope something in this video helped you as far as that goes. And remember, I don't know.
Extraordinary. And remember to like and subscribe for more.
And remember to like, share, and subscribe for more of this content. Thank you guys.